If a scientist from outer space were to park her spaceship above one of our cities, she'd be able to see how we live. We buy our food at the supermarket. We live and sleep in houses. We travel around our neighborhood, interacting with other people as we go about our daily business. The scientist might take notes and record data about how the people in the city live. The branch of science she'd be working in is ecology, the study of the interaction between organisms and their environment. Throughout this course, we've emphasized the structure and function of organisms. But the structure-function relationship is only part of the discipline of biology. We also need to understand how organisms interact with other members of the same species, with members of different species, and with their environment. Very few organisms can survive without interacting with other living things. Organisms of a particular species that inhabit a given area form a population. All the populations of different organisms in an area are called a community. Together, the organisms and their environment make up an ecosystem. In this activity, we'll concentrate on the environment, looking at the factors that shape the physical makeup of the world we live in. Ecosystems that share major similarities are called biomes. For example, a desert and a tropical forest are both biomes. All the ecosystems of our planet grouped together make up the biosphere, our global ecosystem. We'll set the scene by introducing the non-living factors that affect ecosystems. We'll also examine the global and local factors that influence climate. We'll go on to look at the world's terrestrial biomes, from deserts to rainforests. We'll then look at aquatic biomes, including freshwater ecosystems like lakes and rivers, and marine ecosystems such as seashores, coral reefs, and oceans. The basic non-living components, or abiotic factors that affect ecosystems, include the physical structure of rocks and soil, the availability of water, temperature, and wind. Rocks and soil provide the growing medium for the plant life in any given region, as well as homes for protists and many kinds of animals. If the area consists of solid rock, few plants will be able to grow. If the rocks are weathered into small particles and sufficient moisture is present, plants will be able to extend roots and grow. Over the years, dead plant material will mix into the rock particles, producing soil. The pH and mineral composition of the rocks and soil will affect the distribution of plant life in the region. The distribution of plant life will, in turn, affect the animal life in the ecosystem. Water, in the form of precipitation such as rain, snow, or hail, is a component of climate. Some ecosystems don't get water directly from precipitation. For example, water at a desert oasis may come from rain that fell hundreds of miles away, then seeped into porous rock and soil, forming underground rivers that emerge as springs. Without the sun's warming rays, there would be no life on Earth, and our world would be dark, cold, and barren. As Earth makes its yearly revolution around the sun, it is tilted on its axis. It is the combination of this tilt and the yearly revolution that produces the seasons. Because of the Earth's tilt, some parts of our planet receive the sun's rays more directly than others. In the northern hemisphere, summer is in June because that's when the North Pole is tilted toward the sun, receiving more direct rays. Winter is in December because the North Pole is tilted away from the sun. At the equator, there is little variation throughout the seasons because the sun's rays hit this region directly throughout the year. We've seen that Earth's yearly revolution around the sun produces seasonal temperature changes as different areas of Earth receive different amounts of the sun's energy. The sun's energy also produces daily temperature changes as the planet rotates over a 24-hour period. Let's see how these changes affect the world's climate patterns. The sun's rays are most intense near the equator. Here, water evaporates into the atmosphere and produces warm, moist air which rises and moves toward the poles. As it rises, the air cools and the water falls as rain or snow. The rising warm air creates areas of unequal pressure. Cooler air moves in to equalize pressure, creating winds. Because of the distribution of oceans and land masses, wind and rainfall patterns can be predicted in many regions. You've probably heard the term prevailing winds used for winds that regularly flow in a certain direction. Variations in the landscape have strong modifying effects on climate. The temperature of the air decreases by about 6 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meters in altitude. At the top of a 5,000-meter high mountain, the air is 30 degrees cooler than it would be at sea level. Mountain ranges also affect rainfall. As warm, moisture-filled clouds approach a mountain range, they move upward and cool, producing rain on one side of the mountain range, a phenomenon called the orographic effect. By the time the clouds reach the mountain peaks, they contain little moisture. This creates an area known as the rain shadow on the opposite side of the mountain range. Now that we've seen some of the global and local effects of abiotic factors on the environment, let's examine the major biomes that make up the Earth's biosphere. Our planet can be subdivided into 9 major terrestrial biomes. These are polar ice, tundra, taiga, temperate deciduous forest, temperate grassland, chaparral, desert, savanna, and tropical forest. As you can see, the biomes are distributed partially by latitude and partially by distance from the oceans. Let's briefly consider the characteristics of each of these biomes. Polar biomes have very low temperatures throughout the year and are permanently covered in snow and ice. This means that plants can't grow here, although microscopic algae can develop temporarily on the ice or snow. Because there isn't any real vegetation, the diversity of life is very low. In the North Polar biome, some animals like polar bears and seals can live off the fish in the water under the ice. The region of permanent snow and ice at the top of very high mountains is equivalent to the polar ice biome. Moving down toward the equator, we encounter the flat open landscape of the Arctic tundra. This cold region is characterized by permanently frozen subsoil called permafrost, chilling winds, and little rainfall. These climate conditions prevent trees from growing. Plant life consists of low shrubs, sedges, grasses, mosses, and lichens. Alpine tundra found close to the tops of high mountains has similar plant communities. Taiga, the northern or boreal forest, is the most extensive of all the terrestrial biomes. This region of cone-producing trees called conifers is located south of the Arctic tundra. Taiga is also found at cool, high elevations in more temperate latitudes, such as the mountainous western regions of the United States and Canada. Long, cold winters and short, occasionally warm, wet summers are typical of this region. The soil is thin, nutrient-poor, and acidic. Temperate deciduous forests are found in the middle latitudes. Deciduous forests receive fairly constant rainfall all year round, but before the cool winter comes, deciduous trees lose their leaves. The carpet of fallen leaves adds organic matter to the soil, making the soil more fertile. The loss of leaves also helps the trees conserve energy during the months when there is less sunlight and lower temperatures, reducing the amount of photosynthesis that could take place. Much of this biome has been lost because of urbanization and farming. Grasslands occur in places that have similar climates to temperate deciduous forests. However, these regions experience seasonal droughts that prevent many trees from becoming established. Cold winters and the lack of natural windbreaks favor hardier plant species, such as grasses and annual plants. Grassland soil is deep and rich in nutrients, making it fertile land for agriculture. Most of the grassland in developed countries has now become farmland. Chaparral, or Mediterranean vegetation, is characterized by hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. This biome occurs close to oceans in California, South Africa, parts of Australia, and around the Mediterranean Sea. The dense evergreen shrubs of chaparral vegetation are adapted to long, dry summers with little or no rain and a short growing season each spring. Deserts are regions that receive less than 12 inches of rainfall yearly. Some deserts are very hot, like the Sahara Desert in Africa. Others are cold, like the coastal deserts of Patagonia in South America. Because desert climates are arid and harsh, the animals and plants that live in deserts must be adapted to a life without water. Plants are thick-skinned and have few stomata, thereby preventing water loss. Animals burrow underground or find shelter from the sun, coming out at night to hunt and feed. Savannas are related to temperate grasslands but are found in warmer parts of Africa, South America, and Australia, on either side of the belt of tropical forests near the equator. Characterized by grasses and scattered trees, savannas don't experience cold winters, but have cool, dry winters, hot, dry summers, and a rainy season that provides most of the moisture for the whole year. The world's tropical forests include the rainforests that encircle Earth around the equator. Temperatures in tropical rainforests are almost constant throughout the year and even throughout the day and night. Precipitation ranges between 60 and 160 inches each year, and rain often falls at the same time each day. There is more biodiversity in the world's rainforests than in any other biome. However, tropical forests are being destroyed by humans at an alarming rate. More than an acre of land is destroyed every minute by people burning the trees to clear space for farming and chopping them down for lumber. See how well you understand the relationship between biomes and climate. The three sets of climate data show the yearly range of temperature and rainfall in three different biomes. A. These data are for the Sahara Desert in Africa. There is almost no rainfall throughout the year except for a very short rainy season during the spring. B. These data are for Luxembourg in Europe, a temperate deciduous area that has steady rainfall with cool winters and warm summers. C. These data are for the Brazilian rainforest in South America. The temperature and rainfall ranges stay pretty much the same throughout the year. Now that we've looked at the variety of terrestrial biomes, let's continue by looking at the aquatic biomes. Aquatic biomes are categorized as freshwater and marine biomes. Freshwater biomes include lakes, rivers, wetlands, and estuaries. Marine biomes are often grouped together as the oceanic biome, which is subdivided into a number of zones. These are the intertidal zone between the low and high tide marks, coral reefs, the open ocean, or pelagic zone, the ocean bottom, or benthic zone, and the deep water trenches of the abyssal zone. The abyssal zone actually consists of the very deepest benthic zones. Large bodies of fresh water are called lakes. Deep lakes are low in nutrients. Shallow lakes have higher nutrient levels, usually because they are warmer, and sunlight allows more phytoplankton to flourish. Rivers and streams are bodies of fresh water that continually flow in one direction. Rivers generally carry more nutrients and more sediment from soil erosion than streams do. Near the wider mouth of a river, the bottom is usually composed of silt from the deposition of sediment over long periods of time. Wetlands are areas saturated with moisture. Bogs, marshes, and swamps are all wetlands. Some wetlands are only periodically flooded, while others are wet throughout the year. Over the past few hundred years, humans have destroyed wetlands to clear land for cities. In the United States, before white settlers arrived, there were almost 400 million acres of wetlands. Today, just over 100 million acres remain. Estuaries and their associated wetlands, called mudflats and salt marshes, are areas in which salt water meets fresh water, usually at the mouth of a river. Estuarine animals and plants are adapted to respond to changes in salinity that occur along with the rise and fall of the tides. Seaweeds, marsh grasses, and in the tropics, mangrove trees are typical estuarine plants. Organisms that live in the intertidal zone, the seashore region between high tides and low tides, have to respond to the mechanical action of waves as well as a daily cycle of drying out and flooding. Coral reefs are widely distributed in warm, shallow waters. They are composed of relatives of hydras called cnidarians, and the living polyps are covered by a hard shell of calcium carbonate. Cnidarians are associated with photosynthetic algae, which provide the cnidarians with nutrients. Coral reefs are home to a wide variety of invertebrates, fishes, sea urchins, and other organisms. The pelagic zone is made up of the world's open oceans. The topmost layer of the ocean is affected by the sun's light, and this area is home to plankton and a variety of fish species. If the water is clear, photosynthesis can occur at depths of up to 500 feet, although 100 to 300 feet is more usual. The benthic zone is the ocean's bottom. It consists of sand, silt, and decaying organisms. Organisms found in the benthic zone include seaweed, bacteria, fungi, sponges, sea anemones, worms, sea stars, and fishes. The very deepest parts of the oceans form the abyssal zone. Although the water in this region is very cold, around 3 degrees Celsius, the abyssal zone supports many species of invertebrates and fishes. Hydrothermal vents, geysers that produce superhot mineral-rich water, help support a diverse community of organisms found along the ocean floor. Chemoautotrophs, bacteria that can synthesize organic compounds without natural light, thrive near these vents because of the warmth and the large amounts of hydrogen sulfide and other minerals they can use as nutrients. The tube worms with red feathery caps live alongside hydrothermal vents, where the chemoautotrophic bacteria inside them provide the nutrients they need to survive. In this activity, we've seen that ecology is an important part of the study of biology. We've seen how abiotic factors, from rocks and soil to the yearly revolution of the Earth around the Sun, affect the environment. We've also seen that the Sun's energy affects the temperatures and availability of water, and plays a central role in determining the climate of the different regions on Earth. We've examined the terrestrial biomes that make up the land masses. We've also looked at the aquatic biomes from streams to oceans. Biomes are not static areas. As we've seen, the effects of human activity are widespread. Forests have been cut down, and wetlands have been destroyed to make room for building. Industrialization has produced pollution and has led to global warming. Overfishing has disrupted the food web in the oceans, and coral reefs are dying. The best way to fight these activities is to educate ourselves about the dangers of upsetting the balance of nature, and learn how we can help reverse the damage that has already been done to our planet.